I was talking about the membership, and if you are a member, you get access to ARG Web, which is a special software that all the ARG groups have. And it's where we upload our surveys and our data. And once you're doing a survey, you can enter your records and analyses that information year on year. But it's a fantastic resource that we've got. There's all sorts of information, GIS tools, modelling tools, all sorts, CARG events we can put on there. So really exceptional resource there from ARG itself that we use. So 2020, obviously quiet year. Let me pop that back on so it's full screen. There we go. So yeah, quiet year. I managed to get out locally. I live just outside of Penrith, near just in a little village called Clibborn, and we have a Natural England site just on the doorstep, so it was within walking distance. And it's a site that I've covered for a couple of years for common lizards for Natural England. So I carried on with that information. This shows you, well, it's on the left side of my screen. This is the analysis that you get from your surveys that you do once you input all your data from the surveys that you've carried out. You run well, it does it for you, an analysis, and it gives you some output. So this can then go to the land manager of the site if required as well. So I carried on with that. I had we had a few visits to Finlandrig as well for the adder population there, so very restricted to what we could do obviously last year, but lots coming up, so we'll just fly through this. So on to Ashley. Ashley started with us. Ashley's a student from the University of Cumbria at Ambleside, and Ashley approached us to see if she could do her work placement with us for the year. So she's been busy doing the education outreach, and she's done an amazing job. We've had an amazing response. Other ARGs are using her materials as well. I've sent a lot of information off today to Finlandrig so they can put some information posters on the adders there. People are downloading, they're looking through the activities, etc. So I'll hand over to Ashley and she can talk you through what she's been doing.
Hi everyone, thanks Susie for the introduction. So yeah, I'm just going to go over some stuff that I've been working on really, and sort of plans for this year. So lately I've been working a lot on online education materials. So this is for schools to use, homeschooling parents, and generally just for everyone to use as well. So there's some examples on the right. So it really just makes it, the ones that I've been working on are really just like arts and crafts, practical outdoor activities, games, quizzes, poetry and informative posters. They're really aimed at Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 children. But for example, the snake rocks, anyone can be involved with, as me and my housemates found that they're actually really fun to do, especially on a Sunday afternoon when you've got nothing else to do. And other things I've been working on as well is I created an action plan for amphibians and reptiles for the Ambleside campus. So they are working on the biodiversity plan. So they were really keen for me to write this up for them. This was sent before Christmas and I haven't actually had any updates on it, but I imagine with all the lockdowns and stuff, things have been a bit delayed. So it'll be really exciting to hear, hopefully soon, if they've got any plans for the future with that. And hopefully we can get on site and do some reptile surveying with them, which is a project that I'm sure Susie will talk about tonight. So we've also got plans to contact nature reserves in Cumbria for education days and like walk and talk style rambles, just really casual sort of days where we can get out and look at habitats and hopefully see some reptiles in the field, which is exciting. We're also wanting to do like the snake rocks on these days, so like education days, we'll paint some rocks, we can hopefully get them out onto the site, pop them around in different habitats and just create an awareness around snakes, especially if they're on the site that we're at. So this leads me on to the informative posters that I've been creating as well. So I've done them site specific for nature reserves. I'm not sure, no, I haven't put any on the right there, but yeah, they're just a general introduction to species that are on site. And we've just been sort of working on that, and then we've got more plans to contact schools, which was originally for in-person talks and sessions, but we've kind of decided that that won't be really suitable this year, just with COVID and all. So hopefully we can still contact them and keep it in mind for 2022 and offer some guidance for them. Like if they want to, I don't know, run their own sort of conservation or amphibian and reptile session, we can work with them, send them some education packs, and yeah, hopefully we can get into schools next year and do some activities with them. I think, is it the calendar, the next slide, Suzie? Yeah. Okay, so the calendar is something that I worked on just before Christmas, so I'm sure you all seen on the Facebook page, but Suzie contacted me and she had an idea of doing this calendar, and it was essentially to raise money for CARG, which we did a great job at, and we wanted to engage members and non-members and to essentially raise awareness for amphibian and reptile conservation within Cumbria, and to grow the community for us. So we did it by hosting a photo competition, and we advertised it on Facebook and to the University of Cumbria, which is the local university. And we initially had an incentive for people to enter the competition. So whoever won the overall photo competition had their photo on the front of the calendar and also won their free calendar as well. So we used Ask Prints as the supplier and the printer for the calendar, which were a great company to use. They had a really easy sort of software, online software that we could use, and they also checked over it once I thought I was finished, just to make sure that it looked good for when I was printing. We didn't have to pay any upfront costs. We just received 45% of the sales, which is fab because then we don't have to worry about losing money. And then to keep it non-biased, our committee generously offered to judge the competition for us, and I think they had a lot of fun doing it. Angie said in the email that they had a great Zoom call with it and had a lot of fun. So yeah, that was good. Next slide, please, Suzie. Yeah, so these are the results, and again, I'm sure you've all seen them on Facebook. Really great pictures that people sent in, and 12 people in total sent 39 photos, which was a great outcome for us. It doesn't seem like a lot, but we are quite a small group, and the quality of the photos that were sent in were fab. So all of the photos are non-disturbance photography, except for there is one that shows handling, but this was taken for identification purposes. So we announced the results on Facebook with the overall winner, which, as you can see on the left there, is the grass snake in the lilies, which is a fantastic photo, really good quality. And we also had a post engagement on Facebook of around 200 per post, which was actually really good because at the time we only had just over 300 people on our Facebook. I think now it's around 350 or so. So it was really good engagement. So in total, we sold 25 calendars, which raised £113.40. All this money will be going towards our survey materials and also education outreach. And they're also still available to buy from the online shop. So there's the link or the address on the bottom there, or you can find the link on either the CARG website or the Facebook page if you want to buy one. But yeah, I think that's everything from me, Suzie.
There we go. Thanks, Ashley. Excellent work. And we have actually carried on. There's been more sales since sort of end of January as well. So people are still buying calendars. So I was looking for, I think, what are we on next? Some dissertation work. So the students at the University of Cumbria, the Carlisle campus, they haven't been able to do their dissertations via field with any field work. So 2 students approached to see if they could use CARG data. So I don't know if Jordan's on here tonight, but Jordan has been using the data and looking at the effect of livestock grazing on the population of adders at Finlandrig. So what we found was there's a group of us that monitor the adders at Finlandrig, and we've actually installed a remote camera as well to capture data, and what we found was there was more livestock action than adder action. I've got videos of, we've got footage of the livestock, you know, trampling over the tins, eating the labels off the tins. So, you know, not just skirting on the the outside edge, but right the way through the middle. And the previous year, there wasn't the livestock. It was there, but it wasn't in that area as such, and we did get, you know, a lot better counts. So he's looking at that. So he's using the survey methods that we use, camera traps and transect surveys, for a detailed data set for the population at the woods, and looking at encounters, why they've decreased, and, you know, investigating the possibility of the livestock grazing. Obviously livestock is needed for grazing. Natural England tend to use it for different areas of their nature reserves, for the structure of the vegetation and for different species. So it'll be nice to see what Jordan comes up with, but that's a little overview of what he's doing. And then we've got Joel. I was really excited about this. Joel sent me this the other day and it blew my mind. I just love the pictures. I think Joel's on here. I saw Joel at the start. Joel, would you like to tell us about your dissertation, please?
Yeah, so I've done habitat suitability modelling for adders in Cumbria. So what that's resulted in is, on the left you can see 2 maps at 2 different scales. So you got 100-meter scale and 1 kilometer scale. And so basically what I've done, I've taken there's some sightings data from CARG and some environmental variables, so things like elevation or rainfall or habitat, and I've put that into some fancy software, and it's used done bit of statistics, and given these maps to show what areas are suitable for adders, what aren't so suitable, and then they can be used for maybe planning, monitoring, or conservation action if any is to occur. The top one the 100-meter one is the one I think we're going to focus on most. But the study is sort of a comparison between the two. So that's pretty much it.
Really, yeah. So the key, Joel, I don't think I've got that on here. So the key, it was the red areas, isn't it? That is most suitable. Yeah.
Yep. You can see at the scale to the right of the maps, and it's from red to blue. Red being the most suitable, blue being the least.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Really, really impressed. Have you got it all written up and finished, Joel, or not quite?
No, not yet.
How many words have you got done?
I've got 1,500 so far.
Oh, a little bit to go then.
Yep.
You'll get there. You've got your data, you've got your information. That's the main thing. It's just writing it all up, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Get motivated. Next, I'm going to pass on to Matt, who is going to talk about the toad patrols that he carries out. I think he's had a really good start to this year. So Matt, if you want to tell us what's happening with the patrols and what they're all about. Oh, can't hear you, Matt. Can't hear you, Matt. It's just a whisper. Can anybody else hear Matt, or is it just
No, just like you said, like a faint. Well,
I can't hear a word.
Shall we come back to you, Matt?
Matt, have you got some headphones plugged in with a microphone, maybe? Is that where it's coming from?
He's put in the chat. Give me a second, I'll check my settings. Don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. We can move on. We can come back. Rachel, I didn't get the slides that you wanted put onto my PowerPoint. I didn't have time. Oh, he's gone.
I'm sure I'll be back.
So did you have, like I say, I didn't get time to, because it was last minute. Did you have the slides to share yourself, Rachel?
Yes, can I just say they're nowhere near as professional as yours.
Tut. Right, yeah. I'll stop sharing.
And it's really quick. Have we got Matt back? Is Matt ready to do his thing?
I'm not sure. He's looking a little puzzled.
I'll do my thing. It's really quick.
Yeah, if you share your screen for us, please, Rachel. So this is our financial, or a huge amount. I've been spending money actually this week on felts and tins, so it's not as healthy as what it was.
So this is really interesting because it's now telling me there is no PowerPoint to share. Oh my Lord, what's going on? Ah, no, it's come back now. It's come back. I'm hoping no. It's not recognising my PowerPoint. Why is this? Hang on a minute. If I go to, let's have a look. Just bear with me. What I'll do is I'll go to desktop and just show you on the desktop then.
Yeah, that's fine.
Try. You may just see yourself, Suzanne. Let's have a look.
Yeah, it's fine.
What can you see?
We can see your teams, Newton Rig teams.
Oh, that's useful. Can you see you can't see a PowerPoint at all?
Yes, we can now.
Yay! Woohoo! Okay, so basically it is, as I say, it's really, really quick. If I actually put it on slideshow, can you see it? Hang on a minute, I'm just gonna try and put it on slideshow. Can you see it on slideshow now?
Yes.
Oh, the system works. Basically, in the last 12 months, we have made £143.40.
Woo!
Woo! And that's in the last 12 months. In total, we are billionaires having £193.40 income. In terms of what we've spent, it's £81.72 on room hire and survey equipment. Can I just say, Suzanne, mainly survey equipment.
But that's what it's about.
And our current balance is £111.68. I did a couple of little interesting graphics just to show you what we're at. You can see that basically for the majority of our time we have pootled along at quite a low level, and then suddenly since November we've shot up, and of course that is all down to the calendars.
Yes,
that's why we've shot up.
Yeah.
And if you have a quick look at that, you can see that basically 59% of our income is now due to the calendars, compared to 41% of membership. Obviously, if I'm right in thinking that over the next 12 months we won't increase our membership income because we've gone to free membership.
Well, no, any new members do have to pay. It's just the renewals that don't. So it's looking at getting new members on board. But we've got lots of activities coming up, so hopefully that'll bring the members in.
So for me, basically, I would say, looking at this, what we need are some more activities like the calendars, or some kind of funding sourced to increase our income, so we can go on and fund more research and fund more activities doing the surveys. Yeah,
we are able to apply, put a funding bid in to ARG. They have a 100% fund where we can apply for £250. So I'm in the process. I have to write up the projects that we have planned and what the money is going to be used towards. So I'm in the process of filling in the application form for that. So and that's looking at going on more survey equipment, felts, tins, nets, etc. So we have supplies to do more activities. So, yes,
we'll swell the pot up a little bit and give me something to do.
Yes. And you see that people will have to be members to carry out these surveys and activities, because then they're insured. They're insured through ARG to do that. So it's get the activities, the ball rolling, and it's just due to circumstances that it hasn't occurred this last year. Get the ball rolling, and more members. That's brilliant, Rachel.
I'll just finish on a little light note, which is that picture there.
Yeah,
that's one of the tours from my. I haven't done a tour patrol officially yet, because I haven't filled the forms in and I haven't done the insurance documentation. However, I have been going along to one of the outdated historic sites just to see if there's anything going on. Yeah. And this little fella that I caught there, I saw him.
His front legs.
Standing up to watch me. He was like, "What are you doing?"
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Have we got Matt back? No, it's very, very quiet. Very quiet. I'll talk about Matt and his tour patrols. Not that I know a huge amount. Is it 2 tour patrols that you cover, Matt? Your manager for in the south of the county, and recently, just by what Matt's been putting on the Facebook page, etc., it's been very, very busy. It's been fantastic weather for tour patrolling, but obviously I'll drop off the laptop and rejoin on my phone. Okay. We can also, we can, while you're doing that, Matt, we can go on to the next. Bear with me while I share. I think we can come back. There's no problem with that. Oh, I can hear something now. Is that you, Matt? Or somebody else? I'll carry on. So new projects and training. So we've actually spoke about the education outreach. We're looking at doing it online. Schools would have been ideal. However, due to COVID, we'll probably leave that till next year. Recently, I did a presentation at the Carlisle Natural History Society. Now, I do have a link for that talk. I recorded it as a backup. It's not as long as the talk I actually did. I think my talk was about an hour and this is about half an hour, but it's looking at the slow worm identification that I've been doing over the last few years and the computer software I've been using for that, and an update on that work and how that's going. And also the ADA project at Finlandry, looking at using remote cameras to monitor a population, and also looking at identification, looking at different systems to see if we can identify ADAs remotely. So not directly, not picking them up and photographing the scales on the top of their heads, but through a coding of the scale formation, there's a possibility there. And also I've put it into some of the software I've used for the slow worms to see how that works as well. So that information, those updates, like I say, it's a restricted YouTube video. So if you would like to watch it, give me a shout and I'll send you the link to that. We're looking to do more work with Matt at Lakeland Wildlife Oasis, which he'll be talking about when we get him back on. I'm going to be talking about Burial Ground Small Green Spaces project, and that includes training and surveys, continuation and new surveys that we've got going on. Also, I've been in Carlisle Cumbria Biodiversity Centre, have been in touch because Cumbria is part of the trial for the nature recovery strategy, and they wanted input from local recorders for species that they felt were, they would like included in this strategy. And I said, obviously, all herps, all reptiles and amphibians. Anyhow, the information I've got back, the only amphibian that was mentioned was natterjacks. So I've got some more feedback from them that I need to go through, but that'll be an ongoing thing that we're involved in, helping with that and giving our local herps a voice. We're also going to hear from Dr. Roy Armstrong about our expedition to Gambia in the summer. So I'll just give me a shout when you're ready, Matt, if you're back on. So a new project, I recently put a little, what's the word? A little post about this, about a new project. All the different counties, all the different ag groups are looking at doing this, and it's getting our members to run their own small surveys within their local area. So this is ideal at the moment because obviously we're not able to travel far. You can work in small groups as well, and it's looking in your local area at small valuable green sites. So I have, it'll sound like a bedtime story when I start reading this, but I'll just read off what the project in a bit more depth. So in many urban locations, small green sites exist. This can include churchyards and burial grounds and allotments, golf courses, parks, commons and school grounds. These areas can represent some of the few remaining peaceful havens for wildlife and people in an increasingly busy world. Even in the countryside, much of our biodiversity has been lost to intensive agriculture and infrastructure development. These locations may then also provide a welcome respite for many of our native creatures, including birds, wildflowers, fungi and lichens, mammals and invertebrates. These areas are often overlooked and can be an important home for our native amphibians and reptiles, which are often residing in the damp corners that so often characterise old churchyards, for example. So the slow worm work I've done over the past few years is actually a churchyard just outside a little village just outside of Carlisle. And it's, you know, the ideal habitat for herps. The older areas of burial grounds, you know, there's just so much biodiversity because these areas are often left and overgrown, etc., because they're not, you know, they're older graves and people aren't visiting them frequently, and they're usually tucked away at the back. So we often have, you know, reports of common frogs, toads, newts, slow worms, common lizards, grass snakes, and in some exceptional special places, even our most vulnerable native snake, the adder. However, many reports are anecdotal, and whilst many churchyards and subsequent green areas have a wilder area, this is often simply left and little is done to map the wildlife using it or to target habitat improvement for specific species. So the aim of this the project aims to focus on the forgotten creatures, those that inhabit the forgotten areas. So like I say, it's going to be run in conjunction with beautiful burial grounds as well, but rather than just looking at burial grounds, we are looking at small, you know, valuable small green sites, allotments, village commons, school grounds, etc. And what's involved is I'll do online training with people, species identification, basic survey techniques that they can use for them to go out and set up a small survey in these areas, and then from that information that we gather what species are there, we can help see if a little bit of habitat maintenance, you know, through log piles, compost heaps, a change using hand tools to, you know, cut the grass at different times. Because again, the site I was studying, the reason the slow worms were generally found was because they were, you know, strimming it, cutting the grass frequently, and obviously they were killing the slow worms through that. So now it's been advised that they, you know, they don't do a cut till October, November time, once the slow worms have gone into brumation for the winter. So like I say, it's exciting because people are, you know, it can then expand into a community project as well, because the one at Dalston, we have information up in the church. I've done talks for the primary school, which is actually adjacent to the burial ground, talks for the parish council as well, and it's a very agricultural village, so it was great to get to talk to them and tell them, you know, about slow worms and the conservation of them, and how important it was to look after this area within Cumbria, because slow worms are dotted about here and there, but you know, they're not common in the county. So that's me talking about that. Have we got Matt back?
I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Right.
Hey. There we go. Change it back.
Right.
I don't know what was going on my laptop, because you heard me at the beginning, didn't you? But yeah. And I suddenly went quiet for some reason. Yeah, so tow patrols. I'll get my head back into this. Yeah, so we've been running. It's been a bit of a strange year this year. We had a bit of dribs and drabs started and a lot more newts at the Silverdale site than we've ever seen before. And what we think's happened is because we had such a cold spell, kind of minus silly, and then it kind of almost overnight went very warm. It kind of kick-started things in a bit of a strange way, but then went cold again. So we've had a week or so off, and then literally kind of from sort of Tuesday yesterday, we've had numbers picking up again. Although I haven't heard back from tonight's numbers yet, so hopefully they'll be staying high. So as well as that, we've got Ambleside now up and running. That's been registered. That's all up and running with Ashley, so that's great. Hopefully they were doing quite well there. We've also had a new site that was registered towards the end of the year over near Ulverston, over at Beckbottom. And I popped over there and had a chat with them. I know there's a couple of our members kind of helping out with that, so that's quite a nice little small site. Other than that, I don't know what else is really going on around the county. I don't think there's a huge amount. I know the West Cumberland Rivers Trust have just been out over the last couple of days, but they're limiting it to just their staff, no volunteers. So I don't know kind of how much they're actually doing. Other than that, I don't really know. I know there's a few people sort of mentioned about going out and doing bits or going out and checking sites, but then not many people have actually got back to me to say what they have done. So I think it seems like the south of the county is doing okay, because I guess it's easier for me to get out and support people. I could almost do with another me up in the north of the county really, and kind of split the role, I guess, with it being such a big county. But yeah, I mean, if anybody at the moment, the weather is great for movement. So if anybody kind of wants to get out and have a look at the local areas, I can certainly, on the in the form section, there is a map showing some of the historic sites where there have been patrols, and some of the current patrols, and some of the sites that don't have patrols that probably should do. So if anybody wants to get involved, either give me a shout and I can point you in the right direction, or have a look at that map. And do that, but I'm fairly sure there should be a lot more patrols around the county than there are. Certainly looking at other areas of the country, and certainly looking at the sort of distribution of frogs and toads and newts around the county, there should definitely be more patrols going on. I think it just needs people to kind of go out on the horrible, wet, windy nights and move them out of the road. Really. I guess if there's any questions or anything anybody wants to know about tow patrols, I'm happy to answer. But that's my short waffle.
I'm going to ask you to waffle again, and tell us a little bit about the current project, Matt. That's, I know it's at the very beginning, but looking at county groups working with their local wildlife and zoos. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, essentially what it all came about. I've recently joined. So within this country, there's an organisation known as BIAZA, the British Scenario Zoo and Aquarium Association. They're a bit like ARG is to the local ARG, so like CARG and the other local ARG groups. BIAZA is a bit of a kind of an umbrella organisation that many sort of zoos and aquariums join, and from that there's kind of a number of benefits in terms of networking, and they sort of require you to show better standards and other bits and pieces. And one of the things they have is a number of working groups. So there's a mammal working group, there's bird working groups, there's a reptile and amphibian working group, and there's a native species working group. I've just joined the native species working group as a herp specialist, and I'm working alongside another lad who is the herp liaison. So he basically sits between the native species working group and the reptile and amphibian working group, and kind of links the two. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to basically find out what zoos and aquariums are doing for their native herps, whether it be keeping them, whether it be surveying for them, whether it be whatever, and kind of for this, the big element really is to kind of see if they're working with other organisations, particularly other ARGs. So we've got a survey going out very shortly to zoos and aquariums, and we're still working on the survey to go out to ARGs to basically find out whether they're working with zoos and aquariums, and whether they're and if they're not, whether they think there would be some benefits to that. So I mean, some of the bits that obviously I sit on the ARG committee, and I work in a zoo, so it's very easy for me to kind of link the two up, really. And certainly with the tow patrols, it's kind of done through me, it's done through the zoo, and it's done through CARG, all kind of between the three, working quite well at the moment, I believe. We can use it for advertising, we can use it to get new volunteers, we can use it to potentially get equipment if we need sort of high-vis vests, or we need signs, or we need torches, things like that. Sort of between the two organisations, that works really well. And hopefully kind of going on, we'll be seeing if we can get any other bits and pieces. Obviously we had the little zoo trip the other year, and once we're back up and open, we'll be opening our doors to CARG again. Hopefully you can come and see the last bit of the new reptile enclosures being built. And it's basically to kind of sort of share best practices, share resources, share equipment, share knowledge. That's kind of the bottom line, really. I think there's, rather than our organisations and zoo potentially going out and doing similar things, I don't see why we shouldn't all be working together, really. We're all aiming for the same thing. So does that kind of sum it up?
It does, Matt, thank you, that's excellent. I'm really excited about it. Can't wait. It's such a good outlet for what we do and what you do yourselves as well. It's a good collaboration. Okay, we go back. I just nipped back. Surveys this year, areas that we're surveying, back at Clibborn Moss. If there is anyone local to Penrith that can help me with Clibborn Moss survey, they're very welcome to. I'm setting up, I'm back at Dalston for the slow worms. I'm setting that up tomorrow, and at the weekend my Mother's Day is going to be spent at Finlandrig, setting that up. So at the moment, with regulations and restrictions, only 2 people from 2 different households can meet outside, so obviously we can't have groups at the moment yet. We've also got someone doing a adder survey at Geltsdale, RSPB Geltsdale. We have another member that is doing a site over in West Cumbria. We have Ashley with her project at the Ambleside campus, and also I'm starting one up with the students at Newton Rig in the next couple of weeks. So quite a lot happening, but like I say, at the moment we're very restricted on how many people we can have surveying an area. But hopefully as restrictions lift, we can get more people involved. But that's where the new project comes in, where you can do a survey. We do have risk assessments for lone working, or if it is just 2 people within a local area, you're not having to travel too far. So that's, it's an ideal opportunity for people to, if they would like to do some survey work, that's the project to be involved with. So next we're coming on to the exciting bit. So the Gambia Ag Expedition 2021. So this was organised for last year, but obviously was cancelled due to COVID. But we've been busy behind the scenes getting it organised again for this year. So I've got Roy, Caitlin and Emily from Project Wild Gambia here this evening. So if one of you would like to take us through what we can expect to do. I've put the slides on.
Excellent. If you don't mind, sorry, Caitlin.
No, it's Suzanne. Hi, Roy.
Okay. Hi, Suzie. You okay?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Very professional slides, by the way. Very good. Massively impressed. Yeah, so I think the best thing to do now is just to update you on where we've gone in terms of herps. Obviously, we haven't been there, but we're many times a day in touch with Abu and the rest of the team and so on. We've actually made some big steps forward. If I update you on those first and then take you to a suggestion for a change to the itinerary a little bit for the summer that we think is really exciting. That sounds sensible. Is that okay?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, so obviously we've still got the African dwarf crocodile stuff. Luke is ready to receive them. All he needs is, we're the only people who know where they are in the country. Obviously, I've told. Sorry, Luke owns the reptile farm and is the biggest herbs conservationist in the Gambia. He's ready to receive. It's all licensed, so we'd still plan to continue doing that. We'd also, sorry, in fact, even just move on to the next one. Oh, sorry, have people not seen the video already? Because we did do the description of what we're going to do. Obviously, sorry, just to summarise, West African dwarf crocodile, we rediscovered it. We know it from one site. It's next to a highway, one oil tanker, and it's gone. So the strategy, very simply, is we intend to catch fresh hatchlings, move them to Luke's reptile farm and head start them. We've got the facility set up, we've got the licensing in place. We just need a team to catch them and transport them, which is what I'd be looking to do with you lot brilliantly. And then grow them up for 2 or 3 years and then release them in Pirang Bonto Forest, where we've dug the 18-metre well and prepared a site that we know that they'll do well in because it's the right depth and in the right type of forest. So we want to stabilise the population of West African dwarf crocodiles. We also want to do surveys, if we can, for other sites, because Caitlin, we were discussing this earlier, weren't we, that we need to make sure we've got genetic diversity if we're going to start a breeding programme with Luke. So we'd like to do surveys outlining areas from the area we know. We'd also like to look for slender snouted crocodile, which is still technically extinct in the country. However, so was dwarf crocodile until we found it. And we believe it is in some sites that we still need to survey. The turtle side of it, if we could move forward.
There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, basically there's 2 turtle projects, and both of them have asked for technical support from us, which we'll be delighted to do. And look at the possibility of also sort of supporting hatchery work and possibly head starting at those as well. At the moment, they're well intentioned but really ineffective. So, yeah, basically, all of this we've kind of mentioned before. I'd rather, at the moment, look at what we've actually advanced since we last spoke. One of the big areas I'm really keen on is the Gambia is very poorly researched, particularly during the wet season, for the amphibian populations, and we would love to get some drift fencing up in areas we know that are of high biodiversity. There's potentially new species for the country or even bigger available out there, so do it. We have, the team have been in discussions today about setting up our own reserve, primarily for bush babies and so on, but it hasn't been herp surveyed so far, so that would be good. We've also been approached by a charity nearby who run an existing area of forest, where we're going to advise them on the forestry and help set them up a tree nursery, and that needs the basic herp surveys doing. So we set up a systematic survey there. On top of that, there is now there's a huge sand mine at a place called Gunjur that has recently flooded and presented well, a huge wetland that we already know that there's crocodiles going in. It would be really interesting to monitor that as it develops and do some baseline monitoring this year to base further surveys on, to see how, as the water body matures, the amphibian reptile populations diversify, and you get rid of your ephemeral species, going into more established ones. And on a slightly, you're always trying to think of opportunities in the Gambia of how to most effectively collect data. one of the things in any areas of rich habitat, you've usually got ladies' gardens nearby, where the ladies have shallow wells that they get the water from to water the crops that they use to feed their own families, while the men make cash crops and go and drink it away or do whatever. So I'm very keen to engage with the ladies of the villages and actually ask them if they could collect what effectively are pitfall traps, huge pitfall traps over large areas at the edges of the most biodiverse areas. So I'd really love to get a conversation with them and start collecting, particularly during wet season, amphibians. So I think we could add a lot just with that very simple approach. We'll have a team of hundreds of data collectors for us, and we can go around early in the morning and photograph and document what we can find. So that's where my mind's been going with this. But the other thing I know that we've been suggesting is, instead of, we already have 2 other groups going out in the summer, and rather than us go out with a small group each time and be very focused, admittedly, that would be great, but it would be nice to combine the skills, because one of the other groups we've got going out is a British Divers Marine Life Rescue group, and they have some very good turtle experts and so on there. So it strikes us that there could be a very good cross hybridization between the groups, and with our combined powers we would make a better job of developing the hatcheries and the scientific research program for the marine turtles. So I think that's something we'd like to see. So what we're thinking at the moment is, we have a group from the University of Cumbria who want to go out, the zoology students. If we were to take those out for 2 weeks and do the similar to what we propose on our itinerary for you, take them for a tour to acclimatise during the first week and then get them on data collection. If CARG and the divers lot came out in the second week and did their tour then, we could effectively do what would be a Gambia Eco Fest, where we'd have researchers from different groups all cross-fertilizing ideas that could be, that cross-fertilization is really important within research. I just think it would lead to a really exciting environment for data collection that would spur everybody on even further than they would have done before, and allow the sharing of ideas and more expertise. And that way, we haven't mentioned this to anybody else yet. We're asking you lot first whether or not that's something you might be interested in doing. Because if you are, then I think we'll suggest that to the students and combine it. But then they could get involved in the herps research. I'm not saying we would have a free workforce, but we'd have people, young, keen people willing to learn the skills. And this would be an ideal way of combining different level of ability groups and so on. And it would make for a even more exciting social scene, one would imagine. So I think that's it. There are some new ideas, there's some developments that we've made. But I do like this idea of having what could become an annual sort of wet season eco fest in the Gambia, where we have different species groups who could perhaps at the end of it all present their results to each other to show exactly what we'd achieved in the 2 to 3 weeks previous, and actually make some really meaningful contributions.
Sorry, I'm muted. Not a bad thing. No, that sounds good. What I'll do, right, is I've recorded this. So what I'll do is I'll edit it and I'll put this onto the university page and the CARG expedition page. So it updates all those people, because we've just got a small amount of people here tonight.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. But
well, if that does seem like a good idea, Emily and Caitlin have been chasing travel agents and zooming all over the place. It's been very limited, the availability of flights, but they've actually found fairly reasonably priced flights where the CARG group and the divers could go out on the 10th of July, which is actually just after the rain starts. So that would be a great time for actually going and seeing the display pools. So before they actually get to the tadpoles and everything else stage, to actually be able to get our hands on and photograph adults of everything as it's emerged. This should be 2 weeks or so after the first rains. They're fairly unpredictable, but it would be a really, really good time to get our hands on the adults. So I think it would be ideal, but it's for people to decide.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm up for it. Even if I go by myself.
I was just going to say, as for posting in the university group, we were thinking of, if everyone agrees, obviously speaking to them separately or announcing it on there. So
yeah, that's fine. No problem, Emily. I can do that.
Okay.
So lots of food for thought. So I think that was my PowerPoint. I wanted to end on a high, on a Gambian high. Not going to say any more. So if anybody has any questions, please ask, pop in the chat or ask about anything we've chatted through this evening. Or if you think of something later, you can always ask. Like I say, it was just an overview of what we did last year, what we've got planned for this year.
Susie, can I just throw in one comment for Joel?
Yeah.
There was a dissertation round about 4 or 5 years ago that looked at climate change and emergence dates of adders in the county. And that had the full CBDC data set broken down to times depending on elevation and so on. And it might be interesting for him to try and chase that down on Blackboard or ask his tutor to look into.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll have a look into that.
Good lad.
Sounds good.
So anything else from anybody? Or are we calling it a night? Nothing? Well, thank you very much, everybody,
Thank you
for attending. Hope we've had a few committee members here this evening. Apologies from some others. Thank you, Rachel, for coming as well and talking about our pennies, our money. I'll see you at work next week. Yeah, no, I think that's everything wrapped up. So yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And like I say, I'll catch up with everybody, and if you can message me or email with any questions about anything we've talked about this evening.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
Well done, Susie.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.